Hi, my name is Devin, and today we're going to be creating pinch zoom functionality for our Unity games. To do this, we're going to extend from our TouchLogic script that we created in previous episodes. And we're going to utilize three things that are in here. We're going to use our current touch global variable so we can keep track of how many fingers there are on the screen. And we're also going to use our anywhere functions, specifically the onMoveAnywhere and the onStayedAnywhere. If none of this is making any sense already, just go ahead and look at my previous tutorial where I explain how this script works and we actually set it up together. So the plan for this project is to find the first touch. We're going to find its position, and we're also going to find its position from the last frame. And we're also going to find the second touch position and its position from the last frame. We're pretty much going to find the delta distance between the two touch positions and subtract them from each other. And we're going to use that to zoom the camera. Yeah, so let's get started. We don't need TouchLogic open because we're not going to use that anymore. And let's hop over to Unity for a second. What I've done so far is I've just created a cube and a camera. Nothing special, just created them and placed them around. And we're going to make the camera zoom in and out like that with our script. I've also went ahead and created a blank pinch zoom script. So let's open that now and get started. So we don't need any of these functions. We're going to make all of our function calls using our TouchLogic functions that we've already defined. So first off, let's inherit from our TouchLogic script. And let's fill in our functions. So one of the functions that we were going to use, actually let's open up TouchLogic again. One of the functions we were going to use is onTouchMovedAnywhere. And onTouchStayedAnywhere. Now we want to use onTouchStayedAnywhere. Well, onTouchMoved is obvious. We're going to check when they're moving to calculate the delta distances. But we also want to use onTouchStayedAnywhere just in case one of our fingers is going to stay and the other is going to zoom or move. We still want to have some zoom functionality for that. Yeah, so they're both going to be calling the same function, and let's just call it a zoom. Oops. And we'll create our zoom function down here. Alright, so let's think of the variables we want to use. We're going to want to control how fast the zoom goes. So let's make a public variable, float, and we'll call it zoom speed. Zoom speed. It's going to equal, I don't know, 5. Next, we're also going to, so we're going to want to find the positions of our fingers. So we're going to want some variables to store those values in so we can calculate the delta distances. And when you touch on the screen, it's going to give you the X and Y coordinates of the screen position in pixels. So it's going to be a vector 2. Vector 2, and we'll have a current touch 1. We're going to initialize it to vector 2.0. So we're going to need the current touch, and we're also going to need the last frame touch. Last frame. No, let's just call it last touch. Keep it short. And then we're also going to need one of these for our second variable. Or our second finger. Close that out. Alright, so these buckets for caching our touch positions. Right, so let's go ahead and fill these values in our zoom function. So we're going to want to do this for the first and the second touch, and they're going to have to fill in different values. So let's do a switch statement, and we're going to use our global variable, our global variable from our TouchLogic script, curTouch. So this is a global variable. We can access it from any script, but we have to say TouchLogic.curTouch. So it looks inside the TouchLogic script, and then it finds the exposed global variable. So yeah, that's going to find whatever value the current touch is at the moment, which will be 1 and 2 when we have both of our fingers on the screen. So we're going to say if case 0, which is the first finger, then we're going to fill in this value equals input dot get touch position. And the touch that we want, remember Unity keeps track of all the touches in an array. So this is what curTouch is. It keeps track of the current touch index that we're using. So in here we're going to want to use this. Or we could put 0. Yeah, let's do that, it's shorter. Break. Oops. And then we'll do one for case 1. This would be the second touch. Or just first touch, second touch. And that will it's more or less the same, just with those values changed. I already have one of those. Right. So this should be filling in our current touch positions. So if I just make this variable public, and that should make all of these public as well, because they're commas, not semicolons. And I drag this on to my camera. Right, so we're not using the last touches yet. We're just going to look at current touches, and if I play, it should fill in those values. Yep, so it's getting current touch 1 and current touch 2. Yep. Alright, cool, so that's working. Now we also need to fill in our last frame touches. So to do that, we're going to grab our, come on. It's going to be our current touch, so it's going to be the same value that we have here, minus the delta distance, delta position. And again, if you look on the Unity reference site, you can find all of the all of these things. All of the possible functions and variables that you can access. So what delta position does is it finds the last change from here to here. It'll find the amount of units that we moved over. So we're going to subtract that value from our current value, and that should give us the value that we had last frame before the change. And let's fill that in down here as well. And change that to a 1. So now, if we look in here, it should be filling in those values as well. So they're pretty close, but they are different. So now what we need to do is we need to use these distances that we've recorded. So we're going to want to find the distance for our current frame, or our current touches, and our last touches. So let's make some new vector 2's. Actually, distance will be a float value. So we're going to need to make floats, and we can make these private. We could go ahead and make this private as well, because we don't need to see it anymore. So private float for the current distance, dist, is going to equal 0 for now. And we also need the last frame distance, last dist. Alright, so we've recorded our positions and our change in positions. Now we need to find the distance between this and this and this and this. So let's go ahead and fill in our current distance. Is going to be equal to a vector 2 dot distance. So this vector 2 dot distance function is going to return a float value, which is the distance between our two vector 2 positions, between our two vector 2 touch positions. So we're going to want to plug in current touch 1 and current touch 2, and let's go ahead and do that for our last touch, or our last distance. Last. So actually, let's go ahead and make this public again. Public. And we can check out our distances. Okay, well that's not good. What we need to do is we need to first make sure that there are 2 touches on the screen, because we don't want to find the distance between one finger and nothing. So we want to make sure we have at least 2 fingers on the screen. So if it's greater than or equal to 1, then we can do our thing. Otherwise, we want to set current distance to 0. Well, I don't need to do that. I can put it in the same. The reason why this is bad is when we actually hook this up to our camera and have it zooming, what would happen is when you touch and start zooming, it'll zoom. And then if you let go and you still have the one finger on, it will just keep zooming. And we don't want that. We want it to stop zooming after we've released our finger. So that's what this will do. Alright, so let's actually go ahead and just apply this. Apply the zoom to our camera. I'm going to say camera dot main camera dot transform dot translate. I'm going to move it forward. And we're going to multiply it by our zoom speed and time.delta time to make sure that it's the same across all devices. And we're missing our delta distance. So we want to zoom. Let's make a new variable. Actually, we can we'll call it zoom factor. And what we're going to do is we're going to make zoom factor. We're going to multiply zoom factor in here. Zoom factor. Alright, so zoom factor is going to take into account all of this data that we just collected. So, what we need is we need to get the last distance, subtract that from the current distance. And that's it. So now, this should actually move our camera in and out. Let's see. Whoa. Okay. I guess it's working. Oh. The zoom factor needs to be clamped. Yeah. So let's use math.f.clamp. So we're going to clamp these values, and we're going to clamp them by, I don't know, a minimum of 30 and a max of positive 30. Alright, so that should make it less crazy, let's hope. It's still pretty crazy. Huh. Let's try reducing our zoom speed. Boop, boop. And it seems to be zooming out no matter what. Okay, what did we do wrong? Ah, I know what I did wrong. That's why we were getting crazy numbers. 2. Okay. Never mind. Alright, let's go back to Unity. Give this another go. There we go. It's working. There we go. See? Let me increase the zoom speed again. Let's go 50. Alright. So I tap down again. I move my fingers closer, I zoom in. Move my fingers away, I zoom out. Woo! Cool. Alright, so that's it. Let's go ahead and make those variables private again. Hope you enjoyed. Hope this is helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.